Good evening and thank you for joining us. The death toll rises to 8 after record-breaking rainfall overnight batters Japan's Chiba prefecture just 40 kilometers southeast of central Tokyo, flooding homes and roads and leaving thousands of people stranded. The Japan Meteorological Agency downgraded its most severe warning for heavy rain in more than a dozen municipalities in Chiba as rain subsided Friday morning, but more rain was forecast later in the day. Tracy Furness has more.
These were the scenes in Owamishi-Risato, central Chiba Friday. Flooded neighborhoods with homes and vehicles submerged in the floodwaters. Railway tracks also flooded with muddy water. The Ground Self-Defense Force says it dispatched buses to pick up about 4,000 stranded people who stayed overnight at the Soga train station, a local route that also serves Tokyo Disney. Thousands more people were stuck overnight at Narita Airport, serving the Tokyo region, with trains out of the area stopped. Services partially resumed Friday morning with delays, while flights in and out of Narita were operating normally, with many people returning home at the end of Japan's Bon Buddhist holiday week. Hundreds of people took shelter overnight at the Chiba prefectural government building. The prefecture said 4 people were found dead and another person was missing. The victims included a man found floating on a flooded road in Ichikawa City and a woman who had been stuck in a flooded car in Sakura City. Another person pulled from a flooded car in Kashiwa City was presumed dead. More than 80 homes were flooded in the prefecture and nearly 230,000 residents across the prefecture were advised to take shelter. The torrential rain and flooding also knocked out power to about 23,000 homes Friday, down from 68,000 earlier. Record-breaking rainfall of 11.5 centimeters fell in just 1 hour in Chiba City, and 9.7 centimeters fell in 1 hour in Sakura, which was also a record. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Thousands of people are stranded at Japan's Narita Airport, including tourists from Hong Kong, as heavy rain in Chiba Prefecture disrupts traffic. Some have finally made their way back after many twists and turns. Samantha Lowe has the story.
A couple returning from Japan says after learning the railway services had stopped, she immediately took a taxi. However, many roads along the way were closed. With constant route changes and traffic jams, it ultimately took 6 to 7 hours to reach the airport. And she still missed her flight. She shares that in Chiba there was pouring rain with thunder and lightning. She was worried whether the driver could handle the long drive, and the fare came to about 40,000 yen, roughly 2,000 Hong Kong dollars. By the time she got to the airport, all the screens were off. It was already past 1 a.m. and her flight had already left. Another tourist, Ms. Yu, says her journey to the airport was 8 hours on an Uber, even though it's normally just a 1-hour trip. She slept in a sleeping bag at the airport as she waited for the next available flight the following day. She describes the experience as traumatic, and she does not dare to go to Chiba again. She hopes additional spending can be claimed through travel insurance. Meanwhile, at Hong Kong International Airport, flights to Tokyo's Narita Airport are shown as boarding normally, and many Hong Kong residents are setting off as usual. Mr. Yun says his original plan is to stay one night at Narita Airport and then head out to city center afterward. So any potential delays through traffic does not affect him as much. Mr. Young, a tourist from Jiangsu, meanwhile, is worried his trip to Hokkaido the next morning will be affected. Cathay Pacific and Hong Kong Express have both stated that passengers who are unable to catch their scheduled flights due to adverse weather conditions may be offered complimentary rebooking options. Samantha Lowe, TVB News.
The Commercial Crime Bureau says more than 20,000 fraud cases have been recorded in the first half of 2026, with total financial losses exceeding $3.5 billion. This marks a slight 1% year-on-year drop. Andy Ziaudin has more.
The Anti-Deception Coordination Center recorded 2,151 cases of investment fraud among the 20,613 fraud cases so far this year. However, the total loss from investment fraud is around $1.66 billion, representing half of the total $3.5 billion losses from fraud cases. In most scenarios, the fraudsters would persuade victims to invest in cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. They usually use advertisements and websites generated by AI and tell the victims they're registered overseas. In a case involving the largest amount of around $80 million, the 67-year-old victim met the fraudsters online and they later became a couple. The victim was then persuaded to download an application to invest in cryptocurrency. The individual was unable to withdraw funds afterwards. The police says it is important to not download unknown applications and to call the 18222 hotline in case of suspected fraud. While most of these scams lack physical presence, some scammers would establish offices to show they're reliable. In some instances, influencers and celebrities are recruited to help with promotion, like in the case of the JPEG's cryptocurrency exchange.
Police will investigate all persons connected with the case, including the promotion mechanism and the actual role played by different individuals.
Social media influencers and celebrities promoting virtual assets recklessly could also face charges. The police remind citizens to do their own research and seek public information before making investments. And this is Ziaudin, TVB News.
Nigel Farage, leader of Britain's Populist Reform UK party, regains his parliamentary seat in an election he triggered to bolster his position against allegations of financial impropriety. Britain's major parties refused to field candidates in the election, leaving voters in the small seaside town of Clacton to choose between a man with eyes on the Prime Minister's office and a random assortment of candidates, led by a man wearing a trash can on his head. Tracy Furness has more.
Farage told a gathering of supporters Friday in Essex he had achieved a convincing, overwhelming win, even while votes were still being counted. Farage triggered the vote last month when he quit his seat in the hope that it would put to bed questions about his finances and result in a resounding victory over his main political rivals from the Labour and Conservative parties.
I wanted the people of Clacton, the voters of this constituency, to be my judge. Not the mainstream media in Britain and the political establishment who paint us out to be criminals and bad people every day. So I asked the voters of Clacton to be my jury. And the verdict has now come in. You haven't heard it yet. And the verdict is in, and it is a convincing, overwhelming win with more votes and in doing so, we have beaten the candidate for the Unity Party. Yes, there were Liberal Democrats, Labour and Conservative canvassers out canvassing for Count Binface. What an upside-down world it is, where Count Binface is now the candidate of the establishment. I mean, you literally couldn't make it up.
By-election candidate Count Binface commented on Friday on what he felt achieving a larger vote share than he had ever received before would mean for Farage.
If, for example, even if I got to 12%, so 1 in 8 people in Clacton would rather vote for a space warrior shaped like a bin than Nigel Farage. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? And if it goes higher and higher and higher, it says more about what the actual population thinks about Nigel Farage than maybe this election. Remember, there was a national poll just a few weeks ago in which I defeated Farage as to who would make the better leader by the favourability poll, 33% to 21%. What do you make of that?
And the actual count?
Harvey Jonathan David, commonly known as Count Binface, The count bin-face party, 9,455. Farage, Nigel, Reform UK, 22,239.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A passenger train derailed Thursday in southern England, seriously injuring 2 people and causing minor injuries for 9 others, after 3 carriages overturned, British Transport Police said. The Southern Rail train from Victoria Station in London to Eastbourne was carrying about 150 people when it went off the tracks outside the tourist town of Lewes. Aerial footage shows firefighters and paramedics treating passengers in a field next to the train, with several ambulances and 3 helicopters standing by. All passengers were evacuated within 3 hours. The cause of the derailment is under investigation. As a 5th heatwave hits Europe, rivers across the continent are at their lowest on record, disrupting agriculture and water traffic. In Hungary, grazing has become a challenge, while Germany and Italy see drying rivers affect major tourist attractions. Gloria Fung has more.
Persistent droughts are turning the Great Hungarian Plain into something that resembles a desert, where farmers are struggling to cope. The soil across Hungary is critically dry as drought and high heat kill off vegetation and turn what was once a valuable network of farms and grazing lands into dust. In Cologne, Germany, low water levels on the Rhine are affecting tourist boats, forcing local operators to take some of its largest vessels out of service and adapt operations with the boats that can still navigate in the challenging situation. This skip captain says just figuring out where to turn has become a big responsibility, especially with passengers on board. He says navigating takes longer now because there isn't much current these days. Meanwhile, in Italy, the ancient Nero Bridge near St. Peter's Basilica has resurfaced from the river Tiber due to extremely low water levels, as Rome has gone without rain for weeks. Water levels of Rome's main river has fallen below 80 cubic meters per second against a historic value that is around 150 on average in July. Gloria Fung, TVB News.
Welcome back. At least 7 workers have died after an under-construction tunnel in India suddenly collapsed Thursday evening. A rescue operation was launched after a sudden rush of water and debris blocked the tunnel at a hydroelectric project in the state of Uttarakhand. Of the 22 people who were working in the tunnel, 12 have been rescued alive, but 3 remain missing. Teams from the National and State Disaster Response Force, Border Police and Fire Services are searching for the missing, but are hampered by rising water levels. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation on Thursday to impose 100% tariff on drones of a certain size or with certain capabilities that are particularly sensitive for national security purposes. A 25% tariff will be imposed on smaller drones, and a 10 or 15% tariff will be imposed on drones and components from several U.S. allies. Trump said in the proclamation that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had probed the effects of imports of drones and found the U.S. is too reliant on foreign sources of these unmanned aircraft systems. The White House says the tariffs will take effect in 21 days, while those on less sensitive components will take effect in 180 days. Shenzhen authorities arrested 28 suspects on suspicion of smuggling 491 kilograms of silver into the mainland, involving more than 11 million yuan. The smuggling method includes using modified electric wheelchairs. Mo Seng-ai reports.
The 28 suspects are from 2 syndicates. According to CCTV, Shenzhen Customs received intelligence about the suspected silver smuggling in 2025. Authorities say one of the syndicates operated as a family. They stored the alloy in Macau and broke it into small pieces before asking smugglers to tape them to their bodies. Once the silver arrived in Shenzhen, the smugglers would sell it in the precious metals market. Another group of syndicate, meanwhile, hired elderly posing as disabled individuals. The elderly smugglers were provided with modified electric wheelchairs to ride and to carry blocks of silver. Authorities were suspicious after spotting some elderly reappeared at the Futian port, pushing their wheelchairs 30 minutes later. Mainland police later launched an operation, arresting 28 suspects in Shenzhen and Zhuhai. Almost 9, TVB News.
The hospital authority is reportedly studying the possibility of moving the obstetrics and gynecology services of United Christian Hospital to Tseung Kwan O Hospital as it reviews services in the Kowloon East Hospital cluster. Currently, Tseung Kwan O Hospital does not offer child delivery services, with only prenatal checkups and postpartum care specialist outpatient services. Many pregnant women in Sai Kung have to give birth at United Christian Hospital in Kwun Tong. In response to media inquiries, the hospital authority says the number of births at United Christian Hospital is on the decline, with about 40% of pregnant women living in Sai Kung District, including Tseung Kwan O. With Queen Elizabeth Hospital's clinical services gradually relocating to Kai Tak Hospital starting October, and the expansion of United Christian Hospital nearing completion, the hospital authority is reviewing clinical service arrangements. The hospital will review the obstetrics services and staffing of United Christian Hospital and Tseung Kwan O Hospital and take into account population distribution to comprehensively plan the Kowloon East Hospital cluster for future obstetrics and gynecology services. Lawmaker Christine Fong says with more newly built residential estates, wooing more young couples moving in, as well as the development of Area 137, the population in the district is expected to grow to 650,000 in 2040. That entails a pressing need to extend the OB/GYN services in the district's hospital. Fong underscores the trouble for an expectant mother living in Tseung Kwan O, noting it would take them around 17 minutes to reach United Christian Hospital in Kwun Tong, but just 7 minutes to reach Tseung Kwan O Hospital. Fong says while there's been space reserved for the OB/GYN department at Tseung Kwan O Hospital, manpower relocation is still needed to bring in midwives and other medical workers at intensive care for newborns. The government has adjusted its full-year economic growth forecast upwards by 1 percentage point to between 3.5% and 4.5%. At a press conference, the government says the second quarter economic performance has been buoyed by both foreign trade and domestic demand. The economic growth in the second quarter grew by 4.3% year-on-year. Global demand for AI-related electronic products is strong, driving the growth of goods exported in Q2 to surge by 28.9%. Higher than the preliminary figure announced last month. Service exports expanded by 3.4%. As for private consumption and the investment-related capital formation, the growth rate slowed significantly compared with the first quarter, but still grew by 2.8% and 4.4% year-on-year, respectively. The city's economy grew 5.1% in the first half of the year, delivering the best performance over the past 5 years.
For the outlook, the Hong Kong economy expected to see solid growth in the second half of the year, given very vibrant AI-related demand and resilient domestic demand. Consumer price inflation is expected to increase in the coming months as the earliest increase in the international oil prices continues.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.